Is this you? Every time you look at your old work, do you feel the desire to destroy it? Are you ashamed that you started a comic series that has one of the ugliest first chapters ever made? Fear not, for there is always redraws, available wherever redoing things is possible.
You already did the infomercial gag opening in a previous video.
Yeah, well, whatever. Let's talk about my hideous artwork. Okay, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about what I did to fix the first chapter of my comic, Doomsayer. At the time of releasing this video, the redraws are only about halfway done, so you could actually go see the old art and the new art mixed together on the Chapter 1 page over on my website to see how bad my original artwork is, other than what you're looking on screen right now. But to begin, I've decided to break down this one scene that's been completely redrawn, which is the first appearance of my characters Anna and Emma, who are integral to the story's plot. First, we see Anna running away from a group of people in robes with an upside-down triangle on it, and the perspective is absolute trash, okay? That's the first thing you notice in this panel here, is that comparatively, Anna's height compared to the dudes in the back means that she's about 7 feet tall, which is absurd. She's about the average height of about your average adult female human. Yeah, so that's the first thing that was messed up, so I decided to reframe that whole scene. I still like the idea of the two trees right there framing the people chasing her. I also added in the panting sound effects because she's been running from them for quite some time, if you read ahead in the comics. And yeah, that really bugged me that like she didn't look like she was running for her life, because she was. So there's more drama to the facial expressions throughout the entire redraw of this chapter. That was one of the things that I need to fix, as well as you can tell that there is way more shading and more attention to detail in terms of the screen tones or grayscale or gray tones or whatever you want to call it, the shades and values and all that. Right. As you can see, as we move on to the next panel, the original drawing of Anna running away has her holding her pet Levi in her hand, which wouldn't make sense if I think about it. So you would want to be using your arms to run faster, you know, aerodynamics or something. That's why you see the professional track athletes always flinging their arms up and down like that, I think. I don't know. It's just natural. When you want to run faster, you move your arms too. I guess. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. All right? Jeez. Right? Jeez. Another thing was the perspective is completely jank. It looks like her leg is broken. And she doesn't really look like she's running. It looks like she's just taking a step with her broken leg. So I fixed that perspective with a little bit of foreshortening, something that I do struggle with a bit, and I think it turned out okay here. Obviously, I kind of fixed her proportions to be more accurate to her current character design, you know. And of course, there were speed lines added, as well as more panting sound effects, because you've been running from a group of people trying to murder you for a while. Well, you're going to be a little tired. Of course, we get the one panel of her looking off behind her, so that's right before she crashes into Emma there. And another thing I wanted to fix was that Emma did not look jacked in the original because, well, she's a bounty hunter, and she's been bounty hunting since she was like a teenager, and that's kind of annoying me that she's so like slim looking in the original drawing, because obviously she would probably be jacked by now. And of course the sound effect changed from bonk to wham. I know that's a stylistic choice. Maybe you guys like bonk better than wham, but that thing I wanted to fix was there's a shot of Levi kind of flying off of Anna there. I thought it would be a little bit more, you know, comedic, I guess, because, you know, Levi's sort of a comedic relief character. To have him just flying out of the panel that way instead of just kind of half breaking the panel just a little bit, fully coming out of it. I thought that was kind of better a decision in terms of artistic direction. And yeah, I think the first page redraw looked pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much all the changes I made in the first page. Onto the second one. Okay, so the second page, the original is some of my worst work. Honestly, we got this one shot of Anna sitting there, right? And then we kind of see Emma from her behind. Gotta get a little fan service in there, right? But the perspective in the original makes everything look wrong. Like, it's all over the place. I don't know what I was doing. Like, I still do struggle with perspective a little bit, but wow, 2021 John was stupid. Like, that doesn't even make sense. In the original drawing, it looks like Emma's kind of like leaning off, like she's about to fall over, which doesn't make sense because she would probably be standing firmly, because she's a pro, right? And then also another thing is the grayscale, screen tones, whatever you want to call it. I got lazy there and I didn't do it. Even in the bottom left panel there with Anna just kind of crawling back in fear because, she doesn't know who she is. She's been being chased by murderers, Obviously, she's a little bit more apprehensive. But yeah, and that first panel up there, I also gave her a drop shadow because, again, it looks like she's floating. Terrible. I kind of expanded the panel too to add the other tree in there to sort of frame her, which is going to be like a bit of a, I guess you call that a framing device. I forget the word for that when you like use things in the composition. Yeah, anyway, it gives it a little bit more completeness, And I added more detail to the shrubbery and nature because I like drawing that stuff, Anyway, so we got that first panel, and the second panel is Anna just kind of doing the backward crawl thing, that you see in movies all the time. It's kind of a corny trope, but I don't know. She's a little naive. She just kind of ran away from home because, well, spoiler for chapter 2, I'm not going to tell you. Obviously, the main thing there is the grayscale screen tone grays and all that added in, and I gave Levi a little bit of a better stance there, right? Ready to fight this stranger to protect his mom, right? And I added a little bit more mushrooms in the front because we're starting to approach into Shamatar, which is this fictional world full of giant mushrooms, right? So I added that in there to kind of give it a little bit more environment. That's one of the key things I noticed that I needed to add in my earlier work is better backgrounds, more detailed environs, and that shot of Emma in the middle there in the no panel shot, I guess you could say, is from the front this time because, well, it's the first time you're actually seeing all of her, right? So figured just show her from the front, right? You gotta show off those abs, right? And she's just kind of approaching casually, like what's going on. She did draw her bow just in case, and then she turns around and sees that there are people chasing after Anna, and a little silhouette of her firing. I decided to actually add a little bit more detail to the silhouette, a little bit of that backlight, and I think it looks pretty good. More grays and screen tones and that kind of thing. It's more like the original page was a sketch, and this new redraw is like the finished version. And obviously, switching over from traditional to digital, it's way easier to make rectangular boxes, which is funny because I decided to hand draw all the word balloons now instead of using the circles. I don't know, I think they look better that way. So moving on to page 3 of this 5-page scene. So this is probably my favorite page that I've redrawn so far. So we got this shot of Emma picking up Anna after she fell over, right? And sort of like, like she's pulling her into her world, right? We kind of got to add a little bit of that visual storytelling to this, right? I'm not entirely satisfied with the redraw. I feel like I could have did better, but it's just a little bit beyond my skills at this point in time. I think art is one of those things you just gotta keep doing and keep doing and keep doing, and always keep trying to improve, always look at art, always keep drawing, always try to get better, and then, maybe you'll get there one day. So, we got a little bit of a better perspective with the foreshortening, right, with Anna's boots in the foreground, right, but then we kind of got like rocks and mushrooms in the front, sort of adding a little bit more depth to things. And of course we're framing it with the 2 trees on the other side there, which is always nice. Adds a little bit more flowy composition. And I decided to make the wind blowing to just make it a little bit more dramatic, have some leaves rustling off of the trees, various types of mushrooms being visible as we become deeper and deeper into Shamatar, because we start at the Trinikai Shamatar border, if you read the actual text. And, as we get a little bit further into their journey, there's more and more mushrooms as they go through Shamatar. I really like the way this one turned out. It's clearly not perfect, you know. There's a lot of things I'm gonna not point out, but I could have probably did better. Again, like I said earlier, I just really like drawing greenery and shrubbery and that kind of stuff, you know, nature and all that. I also kind of framed it a little bit better, where Emma's starting to turn and getting ready to run, you know, instead of just like pausing there for a moment. She's also holding her bow the right way in this drawing. I don't know why she has it upside down there. That's stupid. What was I thinking? Jeez, what was I thinking? But yeah, of course, obviously the grayscale screen tones. One of the things that I notice is that Emma's shirt should really be filled in every page. I don't know, the white just doesn't sit right with me. Of course, the shading always adds another layer of depth and more 3 dimension to your artwork. So, you know, don't run away from your responsibilities, fellas. Fellas? Folks? You all? Whatever. But yeah, those are the changes I made to this one. I think it turned out alright. Okay, so this next one is one that I probably made the biggest changes to. You know, as you can see by the bottom part there. But as we begin, first things first, we had this exchange of introductions in a real fast manner in the first panel. I decided to put them in silhouette for that in the original, and I didn't hate the framing, or I suppose the composition rather, in the first one. One thing I changed is that Levi's on Anna's shoulder instead of in her hand, because, well, that's where he would probably be. And, you know, obviously they look like they look more, I don't know what the word is, fleshed out as character designs in the redraw, because I guess they are, you know. I figure when you start drawing a character, you draw them over and over again, and eventually you'll find, like, just the right way to draw them, you know what I mean? I wanted to add is that I put a little bit of a gray background, just sort of like as a stylistic thing, and also to make the edge lights around the silhouettes pop a little bit more. If you look closely, they're like half the gray, I guess you could say, of the background, which makes them pop a bit more. So yeah, that's the main thing I did in the first panel. And then, of course, the main thing that I really wanted to focus on is character expressions in this redraw, because they feel really half-assed in the original, mostly probably because I was just learning to draw my characters since it was Chapter 1. But, yeah, there's also motion, too, that's not present in the original, that's in the redraw, which is funny because that frame, that panel of Anna crying there and panicking, has all those motion lines in the background, but in the redraw it's just black. But yeah, I decided to you know, contort the faces more, have like a little bit more depth, a little bit more realism to the faces. So, you know, that's kind of important to me, especially in a story with so much like human to human drama. Like there's like cool fight scenes and stuff like that, but the main point of my story is like the interactions between characters. That's kind of what I'm more interested in. I'm more of like a character writer than a plot writer. But yeah, I really like the way the redraw of Anna in that panel came out. And then there's Emma just kind of looking at her, trying to gauge whether or not that Anna's lying, because, as I mentioned, she's a bounty hunter. Bunch of dudes after this one girl. Maybe she's a criminal, you know? So she's trying to gauge whether or not if she could trust her, and, you know, just looking at her face, she's like, okay, I think she's trustworthy for now at least, right? And then the biggest change was the last panel, because they're approaching a location that I've named Fife Brush. I decided to do a top-down shot in the original, which has some of the worst anatomy I have ever seen in my life. Jesus Christ, Chris Chan can draw better than that. Sorry guys, I've been watching the documentary series. Yeah, so I really like the redrawn with an N version of them kind of going through like this brush, because, you know, it's a brush, shrubbery and leaves and mushrooms and stuff. And the expression on Anna's face, you know, she's panicking because there are people after her trying to kill her or whatever they're gonna do. Emma's real serious, just be like, just stay calm, just follow me, you know. That's kind of the main thing I like about that one, and the various shades of gray kind of giving the environment more depth. I accidentally drew the mushrooms in the back, the big ones, with a lighter brush instead of black. But after I added the grayscale on it, it ended up looking better to me because it looks like it's pushed back more, probably because of atmospheric perspective, because lighter colors fade in the back and darker colors come forward. Also helps that Emma's black, so she kind of pops out more towards the front, right? We got this really nice flow of images, right? If you look in, especially from the close-up of Anna all the way down to Emma in the front, right? Because we have the Anna's hair flying up, right? And it kind of meets Emma's face, and she's looking down because she's taller, right? And then it follows along with the mushrooms, and then the mushrooms lead into Anna looking behind her, freaked out, and then we have Emma in the front, like pushing her arm through the leaves, right? Trying to clear a path, and I think it flows nicely. You know what I mean? It's got a lot of flow to it, which is good. Okay, next up is the redraw of the last page in this scene, which is Emma basically leading Anna to safety, which I kind of like the way I did the first one, where I have her pushing aside a tree or whatever, and then it cuts to their feet walking, but obviously it just didn't really sit well with the way I do things now. I think that was kind of a neat idea, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't flow correctly for me. So the main thing I did was basically I adjusted the compositions. They're pretty much the same, but they're just slightly adjusted, right? So I put Emma more in the front there in the top panel because she's in the lead. And then I had Anna kind of in the back, you know, sort of panicked. If you zoom in onto her face, you can see she's a little nervous because, of course, she is in the situation. And I added a little bit of breeze, too, to make their hair kind of flow in the image, too. Which was absent from the first one. Of course, there's always the grayscale screen tone adjustments, you know, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I think the top one's alright. I don't know, it's not my favorite. I feel like the foreshortening in the hand still is a little off, you know, in Emma's hand there as she pushes the tree. But, you know, it's fine. It's okay. Then on the bottom, I kind of added more detail to the mushrooms, a little bit more vibrancy, or should I say definition, to the whole shrubbery and all that. I don't know if it's that much of an improvement, but I also kind of adjusted the position of each character, right? Because Emma's a little bit more in the front in this one than she was in the other one. They were more side by side in the first one, which kind of had a little bit of a boring composition. Now I have her kind of pointing off, like, where to go, right? Like, we're going that way, keep up. And I feel like that's a little bit better. You know, we got Levi on Anna's head, you know, being a little bit of comic relief, looking behind her, trying to see if they're still being followed. And, you know, we gotta put her more towards the front of the camera, I guess. Yeah, I also wanted to go in there and add a whole bunch of shading just to kind of, you know, add a sun to the scene. They are outside, and yeah, this one's all right. I don't know. I think my redraws are definitely better than the original, but I don't know. The more I look at my art, the more I hate it. So I don't know if that's just a me thing. Maybe you guys could tell me if I improved or if I ruined the original, which I don't think I did because the original was already a piece of shit. But yeah, that's my redraw process, the mentality, why I did what I did, you know, kind of breaking it down, kind of showing off the redraws. You can read the comic on my website. Chapter 1 is still being redrawn at the time of recording this, but it's like more than halfway there. It's almost done. I got a feeling it might be done by early April. That's right, April's next. And yeah, I'm back on YouTube. I don't know, just couldn't stay away, man. It's like a toxic ex you just keep going back to. You know it's bad for you, but you just can't help it, man. I think. I don't know. Nobody loves me. Anyway, subscribe. Tell me my art is trash. Yeah. Bye.